How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem, Daf 40 of Masechta Kiddushin. Friends, today's a pretty interesting Daf. What do you want me to tell you? What does it talk about? Yeah, it is interesting stuff. Let's just jump in. I have a feeling someone's going to comment in the middle. We'll just have to deal with it. Alright, here we go. We're going to start in Daf Lametes Amud Beis, 3 lines before it gets wide. You ready? Let's do it. Rami Rav Tuvi bar Rav Kisna, the Rava. So Rav Tuvi bar Rav Kisna asks Rav Tnan. We learned in our Mishnah, Kol Osa Mitzvah Achas Mativin Lo. So a fellow who does a mitzvah, so we do good to him, Osa in Lo Osa Lo. Frek the Gemara. So only if he does the mitzvah do we do good to him, but if he doesn't do the mitzvah, then we don't do good to him. Do we have a contradiction? Yoshev lo over avera. As long as a fellow pashut sits there and just doesn't sin, nosen lo sacher kosa mitzvah. That's enough. We give him sacher, we give him reward as if he does a mitzvah just by not sinning. Yoshev lo over avera. So why does the Mishnah say you have to taka do epis in order to get good stuff? It sounds like as long as you don't sin, that's enough. Armalei, so Rava responds, Hasam, in that case where we say it's enough simply not to sin, that's Kigon Shabbat Dvar Avera Liyodov V'nitzol Imena. That's a specific case. That's talking about Dvar Erva, whereas some kind of a rayas comes the way of the fellow, and he simply just does not partake. That is very special. Like Reb Chanina bar Papi, Tavaita Imachronisa. A certain noblewoman was interested in him for explicit matters. Omar Milso Umali Nafshe Shichon V'Kiva. And to sort of get himself off the hook, he said some kind of incantation. He became filled with boils and scabs of the Milsa V'Itzei. But this noble woman was a very special noble woman, and she did her little what's the word I'm thinking of? Voodoo, maybe, and healed him. So now what's he going to do? Arak Toshabau Beibane. So he ran away. He escaped, and he escaped to a certain bathhouse. L'chiavu island betrayin afilu biyamame havu mitzikin. It was a type of place that there was a mezikin problem. There was a demon problem. Evil spirit problem, that even if 2 people would go during the daytime, so that should be pretty low stakes, right? 2 people during the daytime, still have mitaske, they would still get hurt. It was bad news. And he was saved. The next day, everyone was talking about it. They said, Rav Chanina bar Papi, how'd you go to that bathhouse and you were unscathed? Amlu says to them, Shneinose Kaser Shamuni Kol Laila. There were 2 sentinels from the Caesar who guarded me the whole night. Amru, they said to him, Shemetvar Erva Baliodcha V'Nitzalta Imenu. They said to him, wow, it sounds like maybe, is it possible there was some kind of a rayas situation that you were saved from? Ditanina, because we learned in a Mishnah, Kol Abad Var Erva Liodov V'Nitzal Imenu. That if a fellow, there's a situation of arayas and he's saved from that situation, he does not partake, he removes himself from it, so they do miracles for him. And here Reb Chanina bar Papi had a miracle happen, that he was in this very dangerous bathhouse and he was saved on account of the fact that he managed to evade this encounter with this noble woman. The very mighty fellows who do his word, to listen to the voice of his word. Like Reb Tzaddik and his friends. Reb Tzaddik Tavaiti Ahi Matronisa. There was a certain noble woman who was interested in Reb Tzaddik. And he says to her, Chalash li boy, I can't, my heart is weak. Velo matzina, I can't do it. Ika midi lemechel, do you have epis for me to eat? Omerle, and she says to him, Ika dvar tome, there's pork. Omerlo, he says to her, My nafkamina, what the heck? The of it all, Achula, if I'm about to do this with you, I may as well, it's so terrible, I may as well be eating pork. Shagras Tanur, she went and ignited the oven. Kaman Chalei, and she put the pork in the oven. Solik v'Yosef b'Gavei, Reb Tzadik then went and he sat in the fire. Amalei, my eye, she says, Reb Tzadik, why are you sitting in the fire? Amalei, the Avirah nafil ba. Well, because if I do this aver with you, I'm going to go to hell. So I may as well sit in the fire. Amalei, she says to him, Iyadi kulehai, if I knew how seriously you took the situation and not being part of it, lo tzartech, I would have left you alone. Rav Kahana have a mizabin dikule. Rav Kahana was, to make a living, he was selling baskets that women would use for their to put things in. Tavaite ai matronisa, and there was a certain noblewoman who was interested in Rav Kahana. On my law, and he says to her, Ezel ikashit nafshoy, wait, let me first go and put myself together. So he went and solik v'konofel me'igre, he went to the roof and jumped off le'ara, to the ground. Also Eliyahu came and caught him and saved him. And then Eliyahu was kind of like annoyed. He was like, Atrachton arbemei parse, you just made me run 400, travel 400 parsas to save you. To which Rav Kahana says, Omerle, migarimli. But look, what caused this whole matzav? Lav anyusa. Is it not because I'm poor? Rav Kahana says, look, I'm so poor that I had to make a living, I have to be selling women's baskets, which led me to this situation. To which Eliyahu says, okay, Yoav le'shifa dedinre, he gave him a treasure chest full of money, so that he wouldn't have to sell these baskets anymore, and then Eliyahu Hanavi wouldn't have to come bail him out from jumping off the roof. All right, don't try this at home. All right. Ramile Rava of Nachman. So Rava asked a kasha to Rav Nachman Tanan. We learned in the Mishnah, Elu dvarim she'adam osa oson. These are the things that a fellow does them. Ve'ochel periseim b'olam hazeh, and he eats the fruits, the reward in this world, but at the same time, v'akeren kayemis lo l'olam haba, the principle is preserved. Which one? Preserved or reserved? Preserved. I feel like preserved. For him, l'olam haba, in the world to come. Eluein, and these are them. Kibur ava'im, honoring one's father and mother. Ukmilas chasadim, doing good deeds. Righteous acts of kindness. V'avah shalom, shebin adam l'chaveru, and bringing peace between fellows. V'talmud Torah k'neged kulam, and studying the Holy Torah is the equivalent of all of them. B'kibur av va'em ksib. Now, when it comes to kibur avim, it says leman yarichun yomecha, uleman yitav loch. You'll have long days, and it'll be good for you. Right? And I think the point is yarichun yomecha is ba'olam haba, leman yitav loch is ba'olam hazeh. V'gemilas chasodim ksiv. It says by doing righteous acts of good of kindness, of good deeds. Ksiv rodev tzedakah v'chesed. It says a fellow chases after charity and chesed, righteousness and stuff, and gemilas chasadim. Yimtza yimatze. Wait, yimtza chaim tzedakah v'chaved will find life, which is olam haba. Tzedakah v'chaved in this world. Uvavas shalom ksiv, and it says by bringing peace. Baki shalom v'radfeu. Seek peace and chase after it. Vama babo, it says asi redifa. And it says redifa in two places. It says ksiv acha baki shalom v'radfeu, and it says by gemilas chasadim u'ksiv asam rodev tzedakah v'chesed, and it says rodev tzedakah v'chesed, and we said that was talking about reward in the world to come as well as in this world. But Talmud Torah ksiv says by studying the Holy Torah kihu chayecha v'orech yomecha. And now for the kasha, b'shiluach hakei nami ksiv l'man yitav loch v'arachto yomim. Lesnei nami ha. That is Rav's kasha to Rav Nachman. Why isn't shiluach hakein also included in the things that you have reward, that you receive reward in this world, and the principle is preserved for the next world? So, and for the Gemara, Tana v'Shayir. So Rav Nachman says, okay, look, it left out Shiluach HaKein. But you're taka right, Shiluach HaKein would be another example of something that you receive reward in this world and the principle is preserved for the next world. Tani, so now, frekt Rav, Tani Tana Elu Dvarim, Vat Omar Tana v'Shir. And then, but Rav says, I don't understand. It specifically says, Eilu Dvarim. It's these things. Shalom Ocha Perisem Ba'olam Hazeh V'Haken Ki Amos L'Olam Haba. V'at Omar Tana V'Shai, and you're saying, oh yeah, but there are others. It specifically says, these are them. Omar Ravis, and now Ravis says, Rav Idi Az Berli, that actually Rav Idi explained it to me, Imru Tzadik Kitov, Ki Prima Aleim Yochelu. That it says that a tzaddik is good, and they eat the fruits of their actions. So yesh tzaddik tov, yesh tzaddik she'enu tov. What does it mean imu tzaddik ki tov? What are there good tzaddiks and bad and not good tzaddiks? Aren't all tzaddiks good? El tov la shamayim tov la shamayim v'la brios zeu tzaddik tov. A good tzaddik is a tzaddik who not just does righteous deeds for himself, but he does righteous things for other people as well. Tov la shamayim v'ra la brios zeu tzaddik she'enu tov. But somebody who maybe he does all sorts of fancy things, ben adam lamakom, but in his ben adam lachaveru, to other people, he's no good. So that's a tzaddik she'eno tov. Keyotze b'davar ata omer, and similarly, oile rasha ra ki gmul yadav ye'aseh lo. That woe is to a bad rasha, and what he, and we're going to do to him what he's been, like the nudnik bad stuff he's been doing. V'chiyez rasha rabbi is rasha she'eno ra. What does it mean? Are there bad Russias and non-bad Russias? I thought all Russias are bad. El Rala Shemayim V'Rala Brios Hu Russia Ra. That a Russia Ra, a bad Russia, is that he's no good to Shemayim and to Brios, to heaven and to the people. Rala Shemayim V'Eino Rala Brios Zeh Russia She'eino Ra. But if he's just bad, Ben Adam Lamakom, but Ben Adam Lachaver, but between the people, he's okay, then that's a Rasha she'eno ra, that's a Rasha, but he's not considered a bad Rasha. Here also, so, things like Kibud Ava'im and Gemilus Chasadim and what were some of the other examples that we had over there? Havas Shalom, Ben Adam L'Chaveru, bringing peace, right? These are things that are not just good to do, but they're not just good lamakom, but they're also tov labrios. So those are the things that there's oicha perisem ba'olam hazeh v'ken kemes l'olam haba. But something like shiluach hakein, it's only tov lashamayim, but it doesn't benefit any other people. So therefore, it is not included in those things that the oicha perisem ba'olam hazeh v'ken kemes l'olam haba. I think people are about to come in, so I'm going to keep on going so that when they come in, they're going to hear that like I'm in the middle. Okay, so here we go. Hazchus yeshla Karen and v'yeshla Paris. And when they come in, we'll make a whole. We'll say, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Oh, hey, okay, who's here? Hey, how you doing there?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm recording Babylon Talmud.
You are? That's so much fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You want to be on it?
No, maybe Michael does though.
Michael, you want to be on Babylon Talmud?
You want to be on the podcast?
Do you want to be on the thing?
Can I promote my own podcast?
You could do whatever you want. How you doing?
Good.
Do you want to be on it? It's rolling.
This is going to be live. Everything you said, you're not going to edit out.
No, it's not live. It's going to be in a week from now.
But it's going to be like, you're not going to edit it out.
No, I won't edit this out.
Completely different every time I say it.
Well, you give me enough time in between. Well, all right. Well, I'm going to keep going. If you have any commentary,
I will let you know.
yeah, just get in there and
What are we up to now?
Kiddushin, Daf Mem.
Kiddushin?
Yeah, it's interesting stuff actually. You ready? It's good for Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, that's Michael. Very good. Okay, it's good for Rosh Hashanah. You listening?
Yeah.
Hazchus yesh lekeren v'yesh leper. So you do a mitzvah, so it has principle and it also has fruits. Now I feel it's fun. Now I feel like I'm on the spot a little bit. I have to get it right. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "Imu tzaddik kitov v'gomer." Wait, what? Now I feel like I lost my flow. Hazchus yesh lekeren v'yesh leper. So when you do a mitzvah, so then there's the principle and there's also the fruits. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Imru tzadik kitov v'gomer. It says right. What is it? Kipri ma'alem yochelu or something. Is that what we said? Kipri ma'alem yochelu. That the fruits of what they do, that which comes out from them, that emanates from them, is what they eat. So avera yesh la karen ve'ein la peris. Now in avera as the principle, but it doesn't have any fruits. Shenemer oile rasha ra v'gomer, meaning that the pasuk had said by the rasha. What did it say? It says kikmul yodav ye'aselo. That meaning by the tzaddik it says right that kiprima alav yochelu, that right that when you do a mitzvah, then it's not just the mitzvah, but then there's also sort of the sort of meta Facebook meta things that kind of come from the mitzvah, like the good energy that comes from that, and the ripple effect. But the avera is just like the avera. All right, where am I? All right, but Ella, where am I? Ve'ela mani mekayim vayochl mipri darkom miatzesem yizbo. So where am I? So ve'ela mani mekayim vayochl. So it says by the aver, it says vayochl mipri darkom, that they eat from the fruits of their ways miatzesem yizbo, and they'll be filled by their ways. Aver she'osa peris yesh la peris v'she'ein osa peris ein la peris. So when it comes to averis, so there are averis that have peris and averis that don't have peris. So for example, if you have like what does Rashi say? Rashi says, where am I? Aver shows a peris kigon chil Hashem. For example, if a fellow makes a chil Hashem, right? He makes the people not like Hashem. She'adam chashuv over aver. If you have an important person who does a sin, v'achirim lemeidim mimenu lasoskin, then other people learn from him, and then they also do like that as well. That's bad. That's an avera that has sort of ripple effects in a negative kind of way. So there are averas that are just kind of like the avera, but then there could be averas that also have sort of negative repercussions. So a fellow has a good thought, so then we count it as if he actually did it. Shenemar, as the Apostle says, "Az nidbru yirei Hashem ishareu," that the fearers of God will speak one to another. Vayakshav Hashem vayishma. The Eibishter pays attention and he hears. Vayikasev Sefer Zikaron Lifanov, and he writes it down in his book of remembrance. Oh, it's good for Rosh Hashanah. The Yirei Hashem, for those who fear God, L'chosh ve'eshmo, and for those who think about His name. What does it mean, those who think about His name? Amar Ravasi says, Afilu choshav adam lasos mitzvah venenas. Even if a fellow had a thought that he was going to do a mitzvah and then something came up and he couldn't do it. And he didn't do it, but he thought to do it. He had the idea, he had the thought. We treat it as if he did the, I don't know if I said aver, but as if he did the mitzvah. Right? A fellow has the idea to do a mitzvah, even if he doesn't end up doing it because someone comes up, we treat it, we give him the reward as if he did it. Machshava ra, however, a negative thought, the Eibishter does not treat it as if he did it. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Oven imra'isi belibi lo yishma Hashem. That if I see a sin in my heart, the Eibishter doesn't listen. Ve'ela mani mekayim hinni mevi ela omazeh ra primach shivosam. So then what do we do with the pasuk that says, I'm going to bring on this nation no good stuff as a fruit of their thoughts? Machshava sa'osha pri HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa l'maiseh. Machshava she'ein ba pri ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa l'maiseh. So look, if he has just a thought to do an affair, but he doesn't actually do the affair, it's just a thought, it never becomes action, so then the Eibishter does not treat it like he did it. But if it's a thought to do an affair that then becomes actually he does the affair, so then he did the affair. What do you want me to tell you? Says Beis Yisrael belibam. But what about the pasuk that says that says that the Yidden are even just thinking about these affairs, and that's bad. So Amr of Acha Bar Yaakov O Bavod is Kochav Mudichsev. Yeah, but that's specifically by the Getchkes. That's specifically by the Avodah Zarah. The Amar that we said Chamura Avodas Kochavim, that Avodas Kochavim is really bad. Shekol HaKofer Ba Kimod B'chol HaTorah Kula. That if somebody sort of denies Avodah Zarah and kind of turns away from it, so it's like he is giving good energy, accepting the entire Torah, meaning Avodah Zarah is like a really, really bad thing. So there, even if you just have like a thought of Avodah Zarah, that's pretty bad, friends. Don't even think about it, is the idea. But otherwise, if you think about doing an affair, but you don't actually do the affair, so then you're okay. Ula Amr says Rav Ula Kid Rav Huna, the Amr Rav Huna Kevin Sha'avar Adam Avera V'Shanaba Hutrala. That if a fellow does an avera and then he does it a second time, then it becomes permitted to him. What do you mean it becomes permitted to him? It becomes like it's permitted, right? Meaning he does it once, and it's like a big deal. You do it once. By the second time you do it already, then you're already used to it, and you can do it a third and a fourth time. And even if he ends up not doing it, it's not because he actually decided he wasn't going to do it. Something else came up, but he had every intention to do it. Once you do it a second time, so at that point, right, says Ula, that based on Rav Huna, at that point, once already you did a second time, so then even the thought becomes relevant, because at that point you don't, there's nothing preventing you from doing it again. Amar Babo, says Babo, Mishum B'chanina. Better that a fellow should do an avera in secret rather than to do it in public and be mechal shem shemayim b'faresya. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, ve'atem beis Yisrael, you Israel, ko amar Hashem, says God, ish gilulav lechu avodu ve'acharim einchem shom elai as shem kochi lo sechalu. Right? If you're going to do averas, don't make a chil Hashem. Do it in secret. Amar Billah Ilai Azokin Imroy Adam, she is famous. Imroy Adam she yitzum is gaber all of. A fellow sees that his yetzer hara is just, it's too strong for him. Yelech lemakom shein makirin also. He should go to a place where they don't know who he is. V'ilba shchoim v'iskas shchoim. He should put on black clothing, cover himself up all in black. V'yaisa kimo shelibo chafetz, and do whatever he wants. But better that you should go to some faraway place where nobody knows you, and you kind of do it in that kind of context rather than to do it in a way that people will see. Is that true? For 1 second, we have a Mishnah from Chagiga that says that somebody who doesn't care about the honor of God, that he does sins in secret, better that he was never born in the first place. So what is that? Rabba says that that's somebody who looks at a rainbow, right? That the rainbow isn't a good thing, right? It reminds us of the flood. Yosef Omer over Avera B'Seisa. This is somebody who's somebody who doesn't have mercy on the honor of God. Somebody who doesn't Avera in private and secrecy. So how come we're recommending that if you want to do Avera, do it in secret? Yet somebody who doesn't Avera in secret, better he was never born. Lo kasha, it depends. If he's able to control himself, and he just says, you know what, I can't control myself, but let me just go and do it anyways in some other place, then that's then better he wasn't born. But if he can't control himself, then if you can't control yourself, so then instead of doing it in a place where people will see and make a chil Hashem, go to some far out place and do what you got to do, and that's that. Tanan awesome. We learn over there. Where is over there? Who could tell me? Oh, Pirkei Avos. Makifin b'chil Hashem. Echad shogeg ve'echad mezid. Ma'ye makifin. What does it mean? So it says makifin b'chil Hashem. Whether you do it by accident or on purpose. What does that mean? So Amar Mazutra shein osim kichenvani. It's not like a store owner who has credit, right? They can buy a bunch of things on credit and pay for it all at once. So we don't kind of save it. When it comes to Chil Hashem, we don't save it up and for a different time. No, the punishment is immediate. That if you have Chil Hashem, that if you had kind of equal parts of mitzvahs and averis, so you're kind of right in the middle, but on the averis side you have Chil Hashem, then it kind of tilts the scales in favor of the bad. Tanar Rabbanan Rabbi Sad Olam Yira Adam Atzmo Ki'ilu Chetzio Chai v'Chetzio Zakai. A fellow should view himself as if he's mamish at any given moment. He's on the brink. 50% mitzvahs, 50% averis. Also mitzvah achas, and if he just does one mitzvah, ashrav shechriya, atzmo lechav zchus. If he just does one mitzvah, so then amazing. He now has more mitzvahs than averis. Over avera achas, but if chalila he does an avera, oilo shechriya atzmo lechav chova, so then oy vavoy, because now he has more averis than mitzvahs. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, v'chote echod ya'abed tov harbe, that just one sin can lose a lot of good. Bishvil chet yichidi shechata, because of one sin that he does, ovid mimenu tovas harbe, he can lose a lot of good, because of that one sin that's going to kind of tilt the scales against him. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon says, Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon lefisha olam nidon achar rubo, and now because the world goes based on the majority, that if the majority of the people are good, so then it's good. If the majority of the people are bad, then it's bad. And an individual also, it's based on, does he has more mitzvahs or more averis. So also mitzvah achas, ashav shechriyas atzmo v'eskol olam l'chav zchus. So then, if you think about it, if he always has to view himself as if he's 50-50, and the whole world we also have to view as if it's 50-50, so then mamish, it's not just on the, I don't know, okay, whatever, mamish, it's not just as, you do a mitzvah, you're not just, tilting yourself to the good side, you're also tilting the whole world, because now you've got one more person on the good side, and it's tilting the whole world to the good side. Whereas Chalila, if he does one Avera, so then he just swung everything in the opposite direction. Shenemar, as the Apostle says, that even one sin could ruin a lot of good. Because of the one sin that this fellow did, Avad mimenu umikola olam tova harbe. So now he and the entire world lost a lot of good. Reb Shimon ben Yochai almost says, Reb Shimon ben Yochai, afilu tzaddik gomer kol yomav. Even if you have a fellow who's a complete tzaddik his entire life, umarad ba'achrona, but then at the end, he rebels. Ibides harishonis, he lost all the initial good. Shenemar, as the Apostle says, tzidkas atzadik lo satzilenu b'yom pisho, that even the righteousness of the righteous will not save them when they sin. If at the end of their life they become a sinner. But at the same time, the opposite is true. Even if you have a fellow who's a nudnik his entire life, but at the very end he repents. We do not remember any of the stuff he did when he was a nudnik. We only remember post tshuva. Shenema, as the Apostle says, "V'rishas harasha lo yikoshel ba b'yom shuva merisho," that the evil of the nudnik will not come to haunt him when he does tshuva. Now going back to the tzaddik, right? We said that a fellow is a tzaddik his whole life, and then at the end he becomes a nudnik, so we forget about all the good he's ever done. But why not, at the very least, make it like 50-50? Why do we have to mamish throw everything out? Rish Lakish b'toel al rishonos. So says Rish Lakish, well, it's because it's talking about that not only did he become a nudnik, he threw everything else out with it. He said, he wishes that he had never done any of the good stuff ever. That's why we throw it in the garbage. Okay, but if he doesn't do that, I guess we can not throw it all, at least all in the garbage. It says the Mishnah, Kol sheyeshno b'mikra u'v'mishna v'derech eretz. A fellow, he learns Torah and Mishnah, Tanakh and Mishnayos and B'derech Eretz. Not exactly sure what that means. I don't know. He's like a good guy, I guess. Lo b'mheira hu chote. He's not going to sin so quickly. Shnema, as the Apostle says, V'achuta meshulosh. Lo b'mheira yinotek. The trifecto of Mikra, Mishnah, Derech Eretz does not break up so quick. But a fellow who doesn't study Tanakh, doesn't study Mishnah, and is not a good guy, so then Eino min hayishuv. Oh, that's important. So he's not part of like the people, as we're going to see later on. Like he can't even be an aid. He can't be like he's postal aidus, right? Meaning he's not part of the people. We can't rely on him as being somebody who's like part of the general community of people who are part of the things that are going on. Says the Gemara, Amar Belazar b'Reb Tzadik. Says Reb Belazar b'Reb Tzadik, L'mat tzadikim nimshalim b'olam hazeh. Oh, to what are the righteous compared to, analogied to b'olam hazeh in this world? L'ilon shekulo omid b'makom taira, to a tree that is standing in a pure place, v'nofo, but its branches note limakom tuma. Its branches are in an impure place, meaning the core of the tree is in a pure place, but little branches here and there are stretched over impure places. Niktatz nofo kulo omed b'makom taira. And if we just basically prune away those branches, the bad stuff, then you'll just be left with a pure core. And similarly, the Eibishter brings travails, is that a word? Trials and tribulations, hardships to the righteous in this world, i.e. he like trims away any, meaning at their core they're good, they're tzaddikim, but maybe they've done avera here and there, so the Eibishter brings troubles to kind of get, to kind of cancel out those a few averas that they did, so that in the world to come they'll be left with that core of good, because any averas that they may have done has already been paid for in this world. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, that maybe you'll have some trouble at the beginning, but in the end it'll be gewaldig. And what are the evil compared to in this world? So it's punkt verkehrt. The ilan shekulo omed b'makom tuma, it's a tree that is entirely in a place of tuma, v'nofo noten l'makom tar, but you have a few branches that overstretch a pure place. Niktzatz nofo, now if you cut off those branches that represent the good, kulo omed b'makom tuma, then all they're left with is a rotten core, that's in a place of impurity. And similarly, the Eibishter gives good stuff to the Rishoyim in this world, right? And they get their reward for those few good things that they've done in this world, so that in the future all that will be left with is their rotten core. Shenema, as the pasuk says, that there's a straight path before a fellow, but ultimately it's death. Very nice. Oh, now there's a maise with Reb Tarfon and the other elders that they were reclining in an attic in Lud. And some guy's name was Nitzze in Lud. And this was the discussion, the following question. Talmud Gadol or Maise Gadol? What is more important? Learning or doing? Very interesting shaila. Very interesting shaila. What should you prioritize? Doing or learning? So then Reb Tarfon v'amar Maise Gadol. So Reb Tarfon answers, he said, better to do. Better to do. Just get into it. Jump in. Nene Rabbi Akiva v'amar, Rabbi Akiva disagreed, and he says, Talmud Gadol, learning is better. Nenu kulam v'amru, then the other people also agreed with Rabbi Akiva, and they said, Talmud Gadol shetalmud mevi lidei maaseh. Interesting. Learning is better because learning then teaches you to do stuff. Super interesting. It's like, I guess, like, why like invest in like a good education or like a fancy degree or something? Why not just like start working now? But if you learn more and you get like, education allows you ultimately to be more effective in the doing that you do. Very, 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 very interesting stuff. So therefore, learning is a higher priority because that'll bring you to, I guess, more effective doing. Super interesting. Tanya Rabbi Yossi, Omer says Rabbi Yossi, Gadol Talmud shekodam lechala arbaim shana. Learning is so important, is greater because it preceded the mitzvah of challah by 40 years, right? Because the mitzvah of challah became relevant when the Yidden entered into Eretz Yisrael, which was 40 years after receiving the Torah. The Trumas L'Maisus chamishim v'arba. 54 years after Trumas Hamaisus, because Trumas Hamaisus became a thing after Yerusha V'Yeshiva, after the 14 years of conquest and settling of Eretz Yisrael. The Shemitah Shishim Ve'achas, and then Shemitah was 7 years after that. So 61, right? Meaning, so 40 years plus 14 is 54, plus another 7 till the first Shemitah, so that's 61 years. Liyovlis Mei V'Shalosh in Yovel 103. Mei V'Shalosh, Mei V'Arba Havin. Why is it 103? It should be 104, right? Meaning it should be the 40 years of the sojourn in the desert, 14 years of conquest and settling of the land, and 50 years after that is Yovel. So that should be 104 years after the giving of the Torah, not 103. Because over Yovel, Mitchilaso Mishamet, Rabbi Yossi holds that Yovel, like the Jubilee happens at the beginning of the 50 years, not like Shemitah, where like Shemitah's Ksofim is at the end of Shemitah, but Yovel is at the beginning of the 50th year, and that's why it's 103 years, not 104 years. And just like learning as priority over doing, also the judgment, if a fellow doesn't learn, so that, when the Eibishter is coming to din, if he doesn't learn, so then that precedes any actions that he may have done. The beginning of a fellow's judgment is on, why didn't you study Torah? What does Rashi say? About 15-20 lines before the bottom of Rashi, Tchilas dino liyom adin, the day of judgment, Tchilas tvios sha'olav, the initial arguments against him, mipnei malo asakta b'Torah, why didn't you study Torah? Shneimar, the pasuk says, Poter mayim reishis madun, that if mayim is hoikot somei l'chul hamayim, right? The mayim is a reference to the Torah. So a poter mayim, if a fellow isn't studying Torah, reishis madun, it's the beginning of his judgment. But Baruch Hashem, anybody who's here at Babylon Talmud should be okay, I think. Right? And just like the judgment is before the judgment on actions, also his reward precedes the reward, right? The reward for studying Torah precedes the reward of doing. Shenemar, the apostle says, that he gives to the people the lands of the nations, and they inherit the toil of the nations, because they guarded chukav. And Rashi points out that we learned the other day, right? Tishmoru was a reference to Mishnayos, to learning. And they study the Torah. Or Yinsoru, as Rashi says, Yikaimu, they do the Torah, but it says Yishmu Chukav, which is learning, and then Torah of Yinsoru, which is doing. So we see that the learning, the reward for the learning, comes before the reward for the doing. So the Mishnah had said that anybody who doesn't study Tanakh and doesn't study Torah, and he's not, part of the people, so he's not part of the yishuv. He's not part of, the broader kind of community. So I'm Rabbi Yochanan upasul le'edus, and he can't be a witness. Rashi says pasul le'edus, the kevin she'enu min yishuv, since he's not part of like the people, ein makpid al atzmo. He's not going to be like so strict on himself. Ein lo boshes panim. He won't be embarrassed. Right now, okay. So back in the Gemara, Tanarabana ochel bashuk, a fellow who eats in the market. He's like a dog. I think that when I learned this, like I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I remember learning this. I think in Sulam Yaakov. I think it made an impression on me. I think that's why I have that sort of response to the sunflower people. Like, a person is just like, I don't know, walking around eating in the market, like not like sitting down and eating, but like, like Michael Weber's doing, like a mensch, but he's walking around in the market and, with sunflower seeds in his pocket, just stuffing his mouth because he can't go a second without eating something. So his Dom Kelev is like a dog. V'yesh omim pasul edus, and some say that he can't be a witness. Idi bar Oven, Alachik Yesh Omim, says Rav Idi bar Oven, that he's like the Yesh Om. Darish bar Kapara, that the halacha is like that he can't be a witness. Darish bar Kapara, Ragzin will also be able to Ragzinusa, that a fellow who gets upset all the time, well, that all he's going to be is upset all the time, and there's nothing good going to come out of that. Lodem Tov, Matimim also mipi maisav, and a good fellow, so then we give him for the fruits of his good actions. And a fellow who doesn't study Tanakh and Mishnayos and part of the people, Dor Hanoah Mimenu, better that you should just have nothing to do with that fellow. Shenemar, right? It's like you should be Mudar Hanoah. So you should have nothing to do with him. Shenemar, as the pasuk says of Moshav Leitzim lo Yoshav, right? Moshav Leitzim lo Yoshav, that it says about a good person, right? What does the pasuk say? It says Asher Isha Sher Lo Alach Batzes Usharim V'Derech Hatom Lo Omar Moshav Leitzim lo Yotzav, right? And Moshav Leitzim, a fellow who doesn't, is not part of the people. He doesn't study Torah and Mishnayos, and he's not part of the people. So what is he going to be? Memele, he's going to be a leitz. He's going to be somebody that you should stay away from. So better to stay away from him. Hadron Olach Isha Niknes. All right, we'll come back to Perka Isha Niknes, and with that we finish Daf Mem of Masechta Kiddushin and the first parak of Masechta Kiddushin. The first parak of Masechta Kiddushin is like half of the Masechta. But it was a pretty interesting daf today. We talked about all sorts of interesting things, like Machshava Tova, Kodesh Baruch Hu Mitzar for the Maaseh, and all sorts of other interesting things about mitzvahs and averis, and anyways, studying Torah. Friends, well, that was daf mem of Masechta Kiddushin. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks to my brother and Michael Weber for their assistance and moral support, and peace out.